I have legit no idea if this thing's working or not. Hello world. How you doing? Doing all right? Doing my Mark Maron impression right now. You doing okay? Take care of that thing? Anyway, I'll let Mark do that. So, welcome back to Stumpy's Yoga Studio. The sun's out today. No one's moving, of course. Probably same in your part of the world. Nothing is going on. So, looks like I'm going to have some time. One thing I realized about this life, when you have time, you don't have money, and when you have money, you don't have time. So we're into the latter. Lots of time, no money. So we're going to focus on the things that don't cost money, which are putting the motor back on to the subframe. So that's what we're going to do this weekend, is we're going to prep the subframe for receiving the motor. We're going to check out the transmission. We're going to clean things up and kind of go from there. I think there's going to be a little bit of Stumpy's Tech Corner this week. We're going to look at the Bluetooth on the radio and maybe some stuff with the dash, but we'll see if we'll get around to it. But hope you're doing fine. I hope you're hunkered down and sit down. You got 20 minutes of YouTube coming up. Thanks for... So this is the idea, is that we're going to set this up. Either I'm going to put the subframe on here, or I'm about to murder Joe Pesci. Either way, should be interesting content. Cleaned off the door and everything that was sitting up here. I'm going to remove the transmission before I try to move it. I'm going to move it with the hoist, because if I try to move it with my wife, we'll end up divorced. So me and the hoist will not end up divorced if we work together. So next step is to pull the transmission, move it out of the way. I think there's only 2 bolts down here holding it in, right there, and one on the other side. This is a little interesting here. Somebody's done a weld job on it in its history there. So I was thinking to myself, like, I have another one of these transmissions in the trunk of the convertible. And it's probably been sitting there forever. And I know this transmission's been rebuilt once because I have an invoice for it. Oh wait, I don't know this. Maybe I know this. Actually, I don't know where this transmission came from, because it could have came with this motor, which is not right for this car, or car it came out of. So, but it's interesting. I always like finding evidence of people working on it historically, that somebody's been here welding stuff back together. So I always find that cool. It's like coming out of a new area and finding footprints. So I'd like to know who did that, when, and why, but since those answers are not forthcoming, it's just cool to see. But yeah, so next up, to pull that. Nice to know I turn 41 next week. I can still herc a transmission when I need to. My dad used to call me the baby gorilla. Obviously, some of my baby gorilla abilities are going with age, but it's nice every once in a while to know you can still herc a transmission out when you need to. So that'll sit there for now, until my wife yells at me. And then the rest will go on here now. Be honest now. Some of you guys are betting against me on this one. Should know not to underestimate Stumpy. Haven't made it 41 all by myself, without a little hardship. But that's the idea. That was the plan for the day. Get this up here. Now we can clean all this garbage off of it. So this is just after an hour of scraping on this thing. Tried to do it with a plastic scraper to save the paint, but that wasn't working. This is the nice part of working with California iron. Just look how, no rust anywhere. It's just oil and grease and garbage. When it's all coming off. Like this side, it's funny because you can tell valve cover or whatever it was, steering pump, such, was all leaking on this side. But this side's pretty dry. Hey, how's it going? Kind of working on this this unit again today. Getting it cleaned up. He's just using the wire wheel, some WD-40, and some blue towel. It's coming up pretty good. Now, a couple people asked me why I'm not using a pressure washer on this. Well, I'd have to rent one, and with what's going on in the world right now, spending money on renting a pressure washer sounds an awful like divorce. I like divorce, but so we're going to do this manually, and that's nothing wrong with that. Nothing nice to keep your head busy while your hand's busy if your head's not busy. And the streets look like this, so who wants to put a bunch of water out in the streets right now? I hope you're staying isolated, I guess, or staying safe. This is a weird one. I know. The last thing you want is your one-legged YouTube show to tell you what to do. I'm not telling anybody what to do. Do what you think is best. That's what I'm doing. And we'll get through this. Stuff like this chassis kind of reminds me of working on this like in 2008, 2009, after my dad passed away, and working on that TR6. I used to go up to Red Deer where I kept it on weekends and just do everything I need to do. I did a lot of this grinding off undercoating and just little nitpicky things when I didn't have money. When I did have money, I bought parts. Didn't have 3 kids at the time, so that was a little easier. And I was engaged, I wasn't married. There's a difference. But it kept my head busy. Like, I would spend mornings applying for jobs, and then in the afternoon during the week I'd walk the dog. We'd go for these long sprawling walks, and then on the weekends I'd go to Red Deer and work on the car. Kind of feels like now. Kind of glad I did that. Kind of glad I had that. I have that template of what to do right now. I hope you have something like that. I hope you have, whether it's puzzles or models or stuff like that. Still spend time with the kids. Still spend time with the family. Do suppers, but just get a heck away from each other every once in a while, and let's keep it sane, man. So I hope you have that right now. I hope that's going on for you, and I hope you're well. So I'll continue to work on this, and I'll show you more video as it goes, but it's coming along. I don't know if I'm going to paint it, like using the wire brush and the thing, paint's coming off of it, and this is really rust free. I'll show you a picture of the other subframe that came off this car, and you'll see the difference. But nice California iron. It's really nice to work on. All this dirt comes off underneath is metal, not just crumbly rust. So, but I don't know, part of me wants to clear coat it, you know, keep it simple, but we'll have to see how that goes. That seems a little silly, but anyway, stay tuned. Try not to breathe so hard on camera, but let's have a little fun. This is Thelma World. This is my 77 Newport that has EFI installed on it, so we're gonna see if it fires up. See if Thelma wants to wake up today. Clock's working. That's a good sign. I put her battery in a couple months ago and haven't done anything with her since. That's the air conditioning thing keeps falling down this way. But we'll try to fire up here, see how she goes. Badly. Thelma fail. Alright, we'll come back to this. So we're going to give Thelma another chance today. Tried to start her yesterday. No go. So I put her on charge last night. And we'll see if she'll go today. How are you today? You doing alright? Ooh. Ooh. Alright, so she starts better than that most of the time, but I probably haven't started her for a month. So Thelma is the 77 Newport that we have. she's the other car you might see in this series. A couple things I want to do to her, but they're all money related. So it's hard to think about money right now with what everybody's going through. I imagine you're all in the same boat. But I'd like to put a Hyperspark. It's got the EFI on her by a large company that makes carburetors. But they're not sponsored, so they'll remain nameless. But they also make this Spark Advanced system that basically an add-on to the EFI, and I want to run that here too. This was originally one of those, I guess, what the hell they call them? Well, they had a computer on the side of that manifold. I can never, on the side of the air filter. I can never remember what they called. Anyway, really terrible early days Spark Advanced systems for Chrysler. They're so bad that they, around this time, they had an Imperial that they had this system on, and they're notorious for breaking down because you had a computer on the side of the air cleaner, and when the air cleaner rattled, these things would go south pretty quickly, especially with the changing heat temperatures and everything else. And what they would do, they would measure the basically, they didn't even have anything on the exhaust end measuring. They would just measure intake and temperatures and such, and then basically your spark advanced based on that. And it worked. When it worked fine, but it didn't work very often. And they had an Imperial that was blue, and they called the Frank Sinatra edition. It came out about 81, I guess, right around there. Somebody will correct me. And they had Frank's name all over it, and it broke down on him once in front of a bunch of people, and that was it for Frank. He never had his name on another Chrysler again, let alone Imperial. But I guess they were under the Chrysler header there. But kind of a funny story. Anyway, Thelma suffered from that too. So in the 80s and 70s, they kind of retrofitted these cars just to be regular points cars, not points, but electric EFR point systems, and got rid of all that computer's junk. And this was the same one, but they don't run right when you do that because they have this carburetor on this thermoquad that doesn't have a vacuum takeoff, and it's, I don't know, I could never get this thing tuned right. I went through 2 carburetors on Thelma, and I just gave up. So a couple years ago I put her on EFI, and I haven't looked back. My wife likes driving Thelma, so I want to keep her happy. And I find with wives, they have very low tolerances for cars that leave them stranded. Like I'm a little more forgiving. Like you got some personality as a car. You can leave me stranded. If you're a Toyota and you leave me stranded, kiss my ass. Or a Hyundai. But I figured we'd take Thelma for a little burn. Nothing else to do, and this is basically the self-isolation mobile. Like, I got more hood between me and the other guy than the average person does. So I thought we'd go for a little bit of burn. I appreciate if you just signed up. I appreciate that. I appreciate welcome to the channel. Obviously it's evolving, hopefully for the better. Cameras are getting a little better. I bought a new camera. Was going to buy another new camera, but that's on hold. But we're doing all right. It started off with my iPhone and an iPad, and they're still in the mix, but now we got a GoPro, and with the GoPro we got a little more maneuverability, and I like the footage that's coming off of this, so it's with us now. But as we get more subscribers and this thing does, like, it's, I don't think it'll ever pay for itself. Like, that's not really the goal of it, but I'd like to get to a point, I don't know but you know, we're up to, I think it's early days, and it'll be fun to say this later. I guess we're up to about 34, 35 subscriber days. I like to get by 100 by the end of the week, and if we do, we'll give something away. I don't know what we'll give away, because again, we come back to that money thing, but we'll give something away. We'll figure something out. But yeah, so like and subscribe, and if you have friends that like cars, or like me, or one-legged people, or I don't know, other things you can see on this channel, dirty faces, get them to sign up, and then we'll get this thing off the ground. That's the goal, to get it off the ground, so I'm not, you know, so I don't look like I'm talking to myself all the time, which it does. My neighbors are starting to wonder, I think. And if it wasn't for social distancing, they'd probably come over and talk to me about it. Upside, obviously. So what we've done in the last couple days here is basically pull that subframe out and clean it up. Like I said, I can't really do a pressure wash right now. The weather's not cooperating still, and pressure washer rental costs money. So I'd rather put that money somewhere else. So part of my Zen yoga studio stuff, I've just been scrubbing away with it with a wired tool on the end of a Dremel, not Dremel, but drill, barbecue brush, and some rags, and it's cleaning up nice. I really don't want to paint it. Like I really get out of this thing. I don't know. The bottom of the car is all black already from pour 15. I could pour 15 it, but then I don't know. It just seems heavy. You know, like it's so nice. Like to find that metal underneath there is so nice. I'd like to keep it that way. Part of me wants to clear coat it. Is that weird? But I think we'll paint at least the part that fits under the car that you're not going to see anyway. Just cleaning up enough that we'll spray bomb it, just to give it a little protection. Like this car is probably never going to see a rainy day again, and let alone like winter. Like winter kills cars around here in Canada. Like my TR6, and I poured 15 underneath of it a few years ago. Well, probably 7, 8 years ago now. And it still looks good, like underneath there. And you know, I don't know. They don't get out. Like Thelma's a car. If I'm going to do something, 9 times out of 10 I'll take Thelma, and she's the people's champ. People love Thelma, and I don't know why. Like it's one of these cars that, you know, like it was kind of, my dad bought it. He didn't really want it either. This widow got a hold of him, or somebody got a hold of him, and this guy loved this car. The guy had it, older fella, from what I remember, and he was working on it. I think he passed away. Well, he did pass away. There's speculation he passed away working on the car. I don't know if that's true, but let's hope not. But he passed away, and his wife, do I have any gas in this thing? I got a little gas. His wife didn't know what to do with the car, and my dad looked at it. He's like, I don't want this car. So I think they made a deal and ended up taking it home, and he didn't do much with it. And then I drove it a couple times, but it had a fuel leak under the hood, and it was kind of okay in the butt because it was going through that period in its life where it was just driven, and then there's old rubber, so you're starting to see things like, you know, fuel leaks and stuff like that where it's just too much to handle. So it sat for a while, and then my dad passed away, and it was sitting in the shop at the acreage, and I took it out. We were all there for a baptism, and I took it out for a burn, and just the exhaust was just non-existent on it. So it was she was barking pretty hard. And so yeah, I thought this car is way too nice to sit. Not nice enough to restore, but way too nice to sit. So I kind of lived in this limbo for a while, and then my in-laws had a condo out in Kelowna, and we'd go out there in the summer, and I usually fly out, and my wife would travel out with them. So we never had a car out there. We had young children and no car there, so I figured we could use Thelma as our flying and drive car. So, you know, like people have Mercedes, SLs and stuff like that at their vacation property. We had Thelma at our vacation property, and she basically lived at the airport for a few years. I took her home. I took her to the acreage. I took her to the house, and we had a new exhaust put on her. I put a new water pump in her, and just generally cleaned her up to the extent that valve cover gaskets, so she wasn't bleeding all over the place all the time. Still had a rear engine leak, rear leak, but other than that, she was pretty solid. Me and my wife drove her out, I think, in 2014, and she was out there for about 4 or 5 years. Great, never had any problems with it. Every once in a while, she'd come out of Penticton, she'd choke getting on the main highway again and stall right in front of like a concrete truck or something like that, and you'd just scare the pants off you. So when they sold their condo, we brought her back. I didn't know if we were going to use her, and we started using her, but my wife just didn't like that choking thing. It really bothered her. So I don't know, give me an excuse. I was doing a lot of work at that time. I was kind of working in the field, software guy working in the field. I know it's kind of weird, but I had some cash on hand, so I spent a little more money than I usually do, and I bought one of these EFI systems and installed it over the spring of 2018 there. and it went really well. Like, I like doing stuff. I like bolt-on stuff, I found out about myself. So I could be a Chevy guy where I could just bolt stuff on all the time, and that would make me happy because that's so easy compared to everything else I do. Like, yeah, bolt-on exhaust, yeah, bolt-on carburetor. But no, I'm a Chrysler guy. They don't make a lot of bolt-on stuff, and it's hard to find parts. So, oh well. But so Thelma's my hot rod. So I like to now I got the Bug, and she's running so well with the EFI. Watch her break down on the street. And I'd like to do the Hyperspark Advanced distributor on it too. So I want to have that be part of this thing. We'll see how it goes. Like, that's going to be, like, we'll see where we are money wise at a certain point. I imagine, like I said, that's where everybody is right now. Everybody's going, oh boy, I'd love to go on vacation when this self-isolation thing's over. I'm like, well, if I get money for vacation. But we're all hunkering down for a while. So we're in that space. But getting back to the New Yorker, I think because it wouldn't cost me any money right now, and it would be the biggest payoff, I think, the next few episodes, because I have the time. Like you, I have the time. You have the time to watch these videos. I got the time to make them. And I think the biggest payoff is we should marry that subframe back to that car and have it be a car again. Okay? Like that idea? I like that idea. And yeah, let's get that going. So to that end, like, now we have the subframe on that wooden dolly I built, and it moves around really easy. I think the next step is to move move the purple car. If the purple car needs a name, I got a name in mind, but I don't know. I don't have complete buy-in from the family yet. But I think what we want to do is move the purple car so it's a better position and have more room around the front end of it. That's going to be tough. It's a big car. And then we'll kind of move the subframe. Now, part of me thinks it's probably a good idea to put the engine and transmission back in the subframe before I move under, or before I put them together, marry them back together. But I could go either way on that right now. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But that's what I want to do next. More thought required. But like, now I don't want to take that whole front end apart. And after we get the subframe off, I still have access to the entire bottom of that, the front end. Like, there's no inner fenders or anything going on right away here. So to do the front hubs and suspension rubber, I noticed there's some broken rubber pieces. It's still accessible. I just wanted to attach back to the car so we have more car together. Like, this car has been just a big shell for such a long time. It's one of those things that it's been hard to explain to my neighbors that this is actually going to come together, and let alone my wife. And to put the subframe, then the only major building block of that car that's not going to be on it right away is the rear end. Now, with the rear end, I got some thoughts there. I like to put the original rear end that came with that car because it's one of the only mechanical bits that came with that car. But the rear end for the California car is ready to go. But I don't know, where does the soul of a car live? Does it live in the rear end? But I don't know. We shouldn't. It should be a little harder than that. I shouldn't. Like, this car should be more than a Frankenstein amalgamation of 3 different cars. It should have the soul in it. If I have the option to put the rear end back in it, shouldn't I put the rear end back in it? Yeah. Leave a comment, let me know. Is that how they say it? I don't know. Like, if you want me to put the original rear end back in it. How's that? That'll require a little more work because we have to replace a lot of rubber on that. But it probably has lower miles than anything else. If that car was off the road, and I think it was off the road in 81, if not a little earlier. So we got to figure that part out. No, I don't know. Just thought I'd take you for a drive in Thelma. She's a nice little car, 2-door hardtop. So this is for the kids out there. I'm going to show you a couple other things in Stumpy's tech corner this week too. But this is a 2-door hardtop. That means there's no B post. There's an A post and there's a C post. And there's no B post. So for the kids out there, that's what a hardtop is. So stop calling them the wrong things. So if they have a window frame there and a post here, that's a sedan. And there's 2-door sedans and 4-door sedans. And the most common cars you'll see now are 4-door sedans, because virtually every car they build now has I think they still make some BMWs and Subarus without door frames, but virtually they're all sedans now. They all have B posts because you can't get away I don't think crash-wise you can get away without a B-post anymore. And like all these cars now have a real thick A-post too. So this is a hardtop. So if I roll the windows down, it's a little cold today, and I love driving Thelma with the windows down. This window rolls down, and that window rolls down. So it's just virtually open air all the way through it. People on electronic bikes. Is that a thing? So that's a hardtop. I'm gonna also show you the purple car is actually also a push button automatic, if you know what that is, for the kids out there. I'll show you what a push button automatic is. That makes it a little more interesting. I've had a push button automatic before. I had a 64 Dodge 330, and it just kind of makes it a little neater because it's kind of an interesting point in Chrysler history. Destoto, it is Destotos too. So we'll show you through that. Yeah. So I just wanted to go for a drive. People out for walks today, they should be. It's a beautiful day. We need the snow to go away so we can all get outside again. I can get on my bicycle, non-electronic bicycle. We get some kilometers in. Just a friendly stranger in a yellow sedan. Or not sedan, hardtop. There you go. So I hope you're doing well with your family and everything's going well. I hope you're not too nervous. Don't be nervous. This will all figure itself out. It always does. And we'll do this. We're smart people. I have basic faith in the population as at large. There's factions I don't have faith in, goofball factions, but for the most part, I have faith. Anyway, I hope you're enjoying your Sunday. Maybe go out for a Sunday drive if the mood strikes you.